11 are national, and that's how I at least understood them to draw the distinction between the 11 and all other task teams in the country. So it is not the only national task team, it's one of 11. Is that your understanding as well?
Correct.
So the addition of the N to that acronym is just simply to indicate that it's one of the 11, not that it doesn't speak to who established it and therefore who can disestablish it. The reference to it being national, it's not in that context.
Not necessarily, but in a way it is so, because the budget, it indicates that the budget comes, it confirms, in other words, that the budget comes from there, and leadership of the National Political Killings Task Team, like in other national task teams, come from national.
The leadership comes from national office. I don't understand. Please assist.
Well, of the NPKTT, the head of NPKTT is based at National Headquarters of Police.
But that's a recent appointment, I think 2 years ago, and he had been the head of PKTT all along, actually since its inception in 2018.
Yes, it confirms that what I'm saying, that the head of NPKTT has always come from, has always been a national figure or person.
Is that factually correct, Minister?
Factually, factually correct. When it was established, it was the Deputy National Commissioner who was the head of NPKTT. And after that, it was Deputy National Commissioner Detectives. And after that, when Kumalo got appointed, he was appointed from national, and he's national.
We'll flag that. We'll come back to that point. From the documents I have considered, my understanding is that is not a correct factual position that you are advancing. We shall come back to it, and I'll seek to have you persuade me that that is the case, and I shall attempt to do the same in return.
I will do the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the moment, I would like you to turn your attention to in file 2 of the exhibits. And I'm drawing your attention to CJC 5.6, exhibit CJC 5.6.
5.6.
Page 50, starts at page 50.
Thank you, I have it.
At page 50, it's a briefing to the President of South Africa, investigation and prosecution of political related cases. It's dated the 16th of March, 2024.
I've got that.
And you, Minister, assumed office on
July
2024. So this was about 3 months before you took office.
Correct.
Now, if you look at page 51, it sets out a summary of what the PKTT has done over.
Correct.
You are familiar with them.
Correct.
And most importantly, at page 52 is a map of KZN depicting the hotspots regions on politically related cases. And as you would know, what we have at page 52 was the situation as at 2018 when the PKTT started its work. Do you agree with that?
Correct.
And overleaf then at 53 is the situation in KZN regarding politically motivated cases, and one sees a marked improvement, whereas there were, maybe more than about 15 hotspots. By 2024, when a briefing is given to the President on the 16th of March, this is the state of KZN, where the majority of them are identified as stabilized regions.
Correct.
And one is highlighted as becoming stable.
Correct. Correct.
And if you go through that document, it deals with, it provides the graphs to demonstrate the progress that was being achieved year on year until the 2024, when they now were down to 2 against, let's say, 2018, where they had reached 58 in that year. Do you interpret the graph the same way I do?
58 cases.
Against 2018, if you look at just below the graph, there is a legend there. Blue indicates politically related cases, red denotes murder other than politically related murder. So if we look against 2018, you see that, at least on this page, 2018, I think it had the crisis had reached its boiling point because 58 politically motivated murders were recorded. And the last entry there of 4 and 2, respectively, green and blue, denotes that by 2024, 4 had been registered. And I say this speaks to the previous slide that demonstrates progress achieved over the 7-year period. You don't take issue with that graph, do you?
No, no issue, except to say you seem to be reading those figures as murders, whereas there are cases in the top squares. Murders are only below.
I've understood this to be politically related cases. So cases of murders which are defined as politically related. Am I misreading the graph?
Well, I know that when they write cases, sometimes they distinguish, maybe here they don't distinguish between murder, cases, murder, or attempted murder.
Oh, in that context?
In that context. So,
Minister, please make that point with reference to the graph for me to follow.
I thought that when in the squares below, when they say total cases 2011 to 2015, it's 11 cases. All of those cases were murder cases. And when you go to 2016, there were 49 cases, 32 of which were actually murders. And then it goes on like that. This is what I was checking whether were one there. That's my interpretation.
Advocate Silo, I think where the minister was, your reference to 2018 figures, you had said 58 murders. And the minister's point was that his reading of that graph is that there were 58 politically related cases, but 14 murders.
Okay. I will flag that because there are quite a number of documents here, and I'll come back to the issue to demonstrate, or at least to seek to demonstrate that my interpretation of it is correct. And I will. And And if it is wrong, I will ready to concede. Thank you, Minister. When the Minister pointed it out to me. I was suggesting that during the adjournment, I will re-look at the documents that I have here to test that understanding. And if I am wrongly reading the graph, I will readily concede. But for the moment, then, I ask us to turn to page 55. And page 55 is important because it puts in bullet point issues concerning motives for political killings. And bullet point 1 states, prior and after any local government elections, prior and after any local elections, murder reported were mainly as a result of fighting over councillorship positions where candidate councillors are eliminated. The second bullet point speaks to infighting within branches and municipalities over positions between newly appointed councillors and old councillors. The third bullet point highlights the problem with elimination of ward and PR councillor of a municipality with the aim of decreasing numbers to be able to win over the municipality. And it goes. And let's look at the fourth bullet point, conflict between local municipality officials and traditional leadership over land disputes and corruption. And as I said, the list goes. Now, going back to General Masemola's conclusion, as you quoted in your statement, that the task team has exceeded the purpose for which it was established, I interpret that to mean that the issues listed in this page 55 that give rise to high incidence of politically motivated murders are successfully managed and under control. Is that your understanding as well?
Correct.
And not that they have been eliminated.
Correct.
So, if the task team has been this successful, why disband it in circumstances where, if one of the main contributors are the elections, why disband it where almost every 3 years we are either having national elections or local elections? So elections play a significant role in what spikes up politically related killings in KZN. Would it be wise to disband completely or to retain a force to ensure no further flare-ups?
That question, Commissioners, take me directly to what the intention was, as opposed to a strong word, disband. It's integration, it's reconfiguration of PKTT, drafting the National Commissioner, just to make an example with an unrelated topic, when he was making submissions after, even from the 22nd, speaks about the National Political Killings Task Team being absorbed into serious and violent crimes. So if you look at it practically, the actual intention, all the time, it has been you transform, you absorb, because you have established a specialized task or you have established a specialized unit. Take what you have been doing in the PKTT, absorb it here. You are not throwing it away. You are not firing people. So that question is answered by practically what would happen. Practically what would happen is less of disbandment than actual absorption. That's the actual real issue that we were dealing with.
But would you accept, though,
the same
that even
focus
in that scenario, that the Butterworth taxi killings has implemented to produce the magnificent results that we speak of? Once the focus is removed from that particular problem, then there is a risk of flare-up, or you would not accept that as necessarily?
Let's separate the issues. The flare-up may or may not be there, but looking at the trends, flare-up may be there. But if you have structured yourselves such that you are able to contain those flare-ups, because it's not given automatically that all murder and robbery units throughout the country where they've been established, all except with Northern Cape, they are as weak as we found these units in the Eastern Cape. And there was a reason for that when we did more studies. But coming back to the topic, in case of serious and violent crimes, and under that you have murder and robbery, and I haven't received a report that they are in the same weak state as just like those in the Eastern Cape. I have an example myself of, no, it's a wrong example. It's in the Eastern Cape once more. I don't have a report that suggests that murder and robbery and the killings team under murder and robbery is as weak as the taxi sub-unit in the Eastern Cape is. Because I don't have a report that says so, I assume that we have a fully fledged, maybe still to be developed to higher levels of strength in KZN, especially if you were to say, okay, we agree, we integrate what we have in PKTT and what we have in murder and robbery and its subunits. I don't think that we could be speaking about a loss, any loss. I don't think we should be speaking about anything that would cause alarm, even in the community out there. And therefore, that would be, that's my understanding, and that would be my response to you.
Minister,
yes, Commissioner.
Minister, on the back of that, when you made the decision to disband the PKTT, which you say you decided on the 29th finally, that you are going to disband the unit, what did you know at that point about the strength of the murder and robbery units, not just in KZN, because remember this is a national task team, as you tell us, so it may be based in KZN, but it's a national team. What did you know about the strength of the murder and robbery units across the country at that time?
I knew that, with the exception of Northern Cape, they had been established and that they were functional. We had not yet focused on what exactly in detail in Limpopo or in KZN or in Gauteng, but they were at different levels. What I know is that that was the only concern that was the only, I would say, issue that we need to beef up, we need to strengthen via a number of things, training, equipping. Myself, I was even talking about what we ended up doing in the structure itself, a new division, separate division from what's combined in Vispol, so that even those specialized units, you back them up, especially in the 4 provinces, because even by that time, December, I thought I had come to quite a satisfactory level of understanding the trends of violent crimes, especially in the 4 provinces. So I may not have known in detail, but I knew they exist.
Yes.
In terms of reports that were presented.
Yes, you knew they existed. You disbanded on the basis that the work that the PKTT was doing can be done by murder and robbery units. That's the basis on which you disband.
Yes.
But you don't know anything about the strengths of those units in the country. So your decision to disband could possibly have the consequence that, in fact, the units that have been established can't do this work, because at that point, they don't have the capability yet. They haven't recruited the people. They don't have the right trained people. How is that a considered decision that ensures that investigations, prosecutions
on the
of
reports,
political killings or political...
Especially when we reviewed the structure with officials confirming that they exist, and it was actually written down, notwithstanding the fact that they were not necessarily individually examined, but based on those presentations and based on the absence which would have been made to say we do have, but it is weak or something, which was done in the case of Northern Cape to say it doesn't exist. And based on my visits as well to provinces, including, all provinces except for Free State and Northwest and Northern Cape, I would say I was fairly aware that they were there, and this was to be reinforced after the by information that I got.
I don't have a difficulty with a part of your evidence where you say you were told they do exist. I'm talking about their effectiveness and capability. And maybe let me do it by way of example. By the time you disbanded, you made the decision on the 29th of December to disband the PKTT. Had you had a discussion or a report from, and I use KZN randomly, I could be using Free State, so you can substitute. Had you had a report from KZN about the capabilities of their murder and robbery unit, their strength, their capability, and a general ability to deal with political killings? And when I say KZN, I'm asking the same question about Limpopo, Gauteng, Mpumalanga. Had you received any of those reports about their ability from the provinces themselves?
Now, I would say initially, when we were doing the review of the structure, we did receive a report of their existence. Now, we're talking beyond that. Now, we went to provinces, including KZN, including Limpopo, including Gauteng. We did find out and saw people that they are in murder and robbery. We did receive those additional reports. But I do want to say it was not necessarily to say we're in KZN today to examine just one unit, that is support services, for instance, or Vispol. It was not in that particular fashion, but we were satisfied with I was satisfied with the report of existence and what I had received, or we had received when we visited those particular provinces. But I do want to add, not necessarily with a view to wanting to exonerate myself from that scrutiny by saying that even despite the fact that we had not gone into detail about what was happening, you remember that we were arguing yesterday that the letter of disbandment still called for preliminary report. And indeed, when that report came, it did say, even though it had not come when we reported, it came later on the 22nd, it says, the National Political Killings Task Team in KZN would be absorbed into serious and violent crimes in KZN, which was evidence that it is known to exist. It may be at that strength or at another strength.
Maybe let me conclude it because I'm trying to understand what your answer is to my question. I'm going to ask it differently.
Yes.
Is there a record in the SAPS or in the ministry which shows whether it's a minute or of a meeting or a report which shows that before you made the decision on the 29th of December, you were provided with information by the provinces? I'm asking that kind of simple question. That do we have verifiable evidence that you were provided with that information and you had that information when you made your decision that it is not necessary